Good morning and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I am Razzle11 and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. We're going to take a look at pitching for today, the 31st of May. It is Friday. We do have a 13 game main slate. Been a while since we've had a 13 gamer, so a lot to digest. As a reminder, this is a first look at the pitching options. I try to go more in depth for the members of DFS Army as the day goes on. And I will be looking at DraftKings as that is where a majority of my action is. On FanDuel, I would always go with a pitcher pool about a third the size. Just no real reason to get too wild and outside the box over on FanDuel, just because pricing isn't as tight. And we're generally able to do our stacks with some of the better pitchers on the slate. So, but let's dig in. We get Ronald Blanco against the Twins. There's some definite K upside for him. Returned from his suspension and looked great. Obviously has been pretty strong all year, coming off his no-hitter to begin the season, and then a one-hit outing following that. I don't really expect to see a 40-pointer from him anytime soon, but he does have mid-20s to 30 fantasy point upside at 10.1K. I think he is certainly viable on this slate. Uh, Looking for his K prop of 6.5. Juice is really strongly on the under, uh, but that's a pretty strong K prop for a guy like Blanco. He's just a slight home favorite, or should make sure he's at home. Yep, home favorite at minus 115 here. Um, so it should be a tight game. Game total of 8. I think Blanco has upside. The K upside is interesting enough for me that he will make my pool. Um, but I don't expect to be super heavy on him at this point. Dylan Cease taking on Kansas City. Hasn't looked great in his last couple starts from a run prevention standpoint, but still has scored fine DFS wise in 2 out of the 3. If you turn those 2 starts around and give him a W, he's in the near mid 20s for fantasy points. So, uh, he's still scoring. He's just allowing some runs. Home runs have become an issue a little bit. He is familiar with Kansas City with his time with the White Sox. He's a minus 125 favorite. K prop of 6.5. Juice is on the under for him as well, but uh, I would say he probably has more sheer upside in this spot than Blanco does. Um, but the Kansas City offense over the last 2 weeks has been pretty solid, if I remember correctly from yesterday. So not some lock, but certainly plenty of upside for a guy like Cease. Tanner Houck, definitely going to be in my pool. Probably going to be one of my favorite pitchers on the slate at first glance. K prop of 5.5, juice strongly on the over. He's a minus 170 favorite in this one. Just throwing the ball extremely well. If he can avoid some walks, he has allowed just 1 home run on the season. He's had some great starts. Not as strong at home, but he did have a complete game shutout while pitching at home. That was his only win. Uh, he's obviously pitched extremely well to pick up more than just 1 win in his 6 home starts. If you add 2 or 3 wins to that total, you're now looking at 23 to 24 fantasy points per game at home, which is strong. Obviously, a whip under 2 ERA or whip under 1 ERA under 2. He's just looked great. It's a guy that's had some trouble staying healthy over the last few years, but when he's been healthy, has shown some upside. So uh, I have no problem being super heavy on him against Detroit as of this morning. Tanner Bybee, uh, going to probably use him, even though I obviously hesitate paying up against Washington just because they're not a huge strikeout team. but he is a minus 218 favorite. Game total of just 8 with juice on the under. K prop of 6.5, which is really strong, but juice is on the under for him as well. But a lot of signs point to him being pretty solid this evening. Obviously, the one worry for me is he has looked pretty bad when pitching at home overall. I believe he's coming off his best home start 2 starts ago against the Twins. So maybe kind of turning it around a little bit, but it's going to be tough to ignore Bybee, to be honest. Brian Wu, probably somebody I'm going to be very interested in. I know I haven't been picking on the Angels with pitching. If you've kind of been reading my stuff or listening to it, especially when the Angels face left-handed pitching, I've actually been stacking quite a bit of the Angels with the power they've been showing against left-handed pitching. Uh, but Wu's looked pretty strong, even though he's coming off a game with just 1K. It was against that aforementioned Washington squad that isn't a huge K upside matchup. His K prop in this one is 6.5 right now. Juice is very slightly on the under. It's nearly a pick 'em between the two. Uh, he's a minus 175 favorite. Game total of just 7.5, with juice even on the under. It's going to be tough for me to not want to play some Brian Wu this evening. Pablo Lopez just not going to go there against the Astros. He's allowing too many home runs this year. Just isn't looking sharp. Um, can have these big time K matchups, but as you notice, that came against Seattle, a team that's basically struck out more than the entire league. So, uh, and obviously, I don't like taking pitchers against Houston, especially in Houston. They're a team that over the years I've noticed really strong home splits. So I'll pass on that one. Walker Bueller definitely going to make my pool. Um, his 2 starts ago kind of showed us what he's capable of in his return from his second Tommy John. Home runs always could be an issue, but it is Colorado. Uh, they're not a super dangerous squad. He's a minus 298 favorite, which is a bit extreme. K prop of 5.5, juice on the over. So as you see so far, we have plenty of pitching options. And the more we add, the more I'm likely to maybe remove a guy like Blanco and just hope that he doesn't have a big time K performance. Um, maybe end up removing a guy like Bybee just because the K upside in the matchup isn't there. Because I don't really want to remove Cease. Definitely don't want to remove Hulk. Probably not going to remove Brian Wu. Bueller at home against Colorado. But we're going to see some more names down here that we're going to be very interested in as well. Reynaldo Lopez, just a few starts ago, he was almost nearly 10K. He hasn't looked as sharp recently. The strikeouts haven't been there, and obviously the wins neither. Um, there could be, it could just be a slight wall, obviously. Having been a reliever for the last couple of years, uh, the innings could be catching up to him a little bit. His pitch totals have come down a little bit as well. I haven't read anything about them looking to limit him uh, kind of in this part of the season so that he's fresher later. So somebody that I'm going to have to pay attention to. But with that said, it's somebody that I'm definitely interested in against the strikeout upside of Oakland. Oakland does have some power in their lineup, but they have a lot of swing and miss as well. A lot of young guys. Um, Looking for his K prop here, and I'm not seeing it. Yeah, for some reason I'm just not seeing that game. Oh, there we go. 5.5 juices on the under. I assume he's probably a 200, yeah, minus 218 favorite right now. So I think there's going to be a lot of people that just blindly plug him in. I think you're fine to do so. Um, but I don't know that he's going to be somebody I want to be super overweight on just because he hasn't been showcasing any upside. Marcus Stroman pitching in a gigantic pitcher's park, a minus 135 road favorite against a Giant squad that's dealt with some injuries. K prop of just 4.5 with juice on the under. Uh, I think he's viable, and I might even like him slightly more than Lopez based on my gut feel that Lopez is kind of hitting a mini wall right now. And if that's the case, I think Stroman might come in at lower ownership and have just as much upside or more actually in the spot. But it'll be interesting to dig into that matchup later, just because I love taking pitchers in that ballpark. Jose Barrios hasn't been super sharp the last couple. Some home run balls have come up, but he certainly has plenty of upside. He's been absolutely dominant when pitching at home. His K numbers are down a little bit, but overall he's just been really strong at home. I expect him to be a pretty strong favorite. Toronto's listed at minus 166 right now. Uh, the sportsbook DK Sportsbook does not have on one screen it doesn't have pitchers listed, but Burries does have a K prop of 5.5 with juice on the under. I have a feeling he's going to end up one of my favorite GPP pitchers, just because I think his upside in this matchup is super strong, and we get him at a discount compared to some of the other guys. Um, I think his upside can mirror a lot of the guys here, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for to save money, just to save money. I'm looking for that upside and the return, and I think Barrios can do it for slightly cheaper. Fetty is really surprised this year. And as much as I just don't think Milwaukee is as good as they've shown, I don't know that I'm going to go to Fetty. That's something I'm going to have to look into or think about as the day goes on. His K prop is just 4.5. Um, and he is an underdog in that one against the Brewers. So I have a feeling I'm not going to go to Fetty. But then, does that mean I go to Severino? I'm not sure. Walks have been a huge issue, uh, but he can still score some fantasy points. Uh, he's a minus 122 favorite. Game total in this one is just 7, which is really intriguing. K prop of 5.5, juice on the under. So uh, he's somebody that I think we have to at least consider for a little bit. Same with Montgomery. I don't think I'm going to Montgomery. He just hasn't shown any big time upside yet. Um, 7K performance, which is the best one by far. Taking out a Met squad that might be without Alonso again. K prop is just 4.5, juice on the under. But obviously, that game total of just 7 between these two is actually really interesting. Right now, I'm going to lean towards not using Montgomery. Uh, I just have this thing against using guys that sit out all spring. Uh, I was burned by Snell, even though I thought Snell had a chance to turn things around in his matchup. He did rack up strikeouts his last time out, but then walks were an issue because he's just not sharp. And then Snell came out after the game talking about how important spring training was and how he basically messed up. So that shows you how important it is for these pitchers to get right going into the season and not having to get right during the season. As we go down, not really going to be interested in much. Albert Suarez, people used him a ton to begin the season. Went to the bullpen, started his last time out, threw 80 pitches, only went 4 innings. Tampa Bay is a team that I have been picking on. Um, but if somebody like Suarez makes my pool, it's basically as the last man in. Waka maybe against San Diego. San Diego's disappointed enough. Waka's been really solid. So he's somebody that does interest me a little bit. I think Tobias Myers is going to draw some interest. Should probably see him jump up to the 80 pitch mark. But he's not somebody that I'm overly excited to jam in. So, but there we have it. There's that first look at pitching. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. And if you want to join us, get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, Discord, etc. I will put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's RAZ, for 10% off monthly. And as always, best of luck, everybody.